our plan part of this, I want to look at it in two phases. One is I want to look at the whole of our new building as it relates to the existing building. Because part of the importance of this is it's not like we're just going to pick everything up and move it to this new building. Instead, what we have to be able to do is to build a building that complements the buildings that already exist. So I'm going to talk to you about how this building integrates with the current building first. And then we'll actually look in detail at the new building itself. To give you some perspective, our first building that we built is the worship center. It was the worship center. We built 3 nursery rooms. We built a lobby area. We built a small kitchen and some storage. All told, that first building, which we now worship in, was about 8,200 square feet. The second building that we built that was finished in 2007 is what we call the Learning Center. The Learning Center is this long building we're sitting in right now. It's 1 story around the office area, and then it's 2 stories as you come to the southern part of this building. All told, this building is about 23,000 square feet. The new building that we are proposing to build is 20,600 square feet. Now, obviously, it's laid out very different, and it's all on 1 floor. But just so you have some perspective about it, the first building, 8,200 square feet. The second building, 23,000. Now this building is 20,600. In size, this new building will be closer in square footage to the building we built in 2007, which we call the Learning Center. So just everybody be aware of that as we kind of go along. Now, part of what I also want to show you on this diagram is to say that in order to be able to do this, we've got to be able to do some renovation back over here. One of the big elements in this new building is this very formal sanctuary, is what we'll call it the rest of the time today. The sanctuary is going to seat about 500 people. It has a 60-person choir loft, and we will have the ability to do some really nice formal things in there. But in order to be able to do that, the plan requires that we come back and renovate the current worship center, so that we can have contemporary worship in here. And so by having contemporary worship here, we can run contemporary services simultaneously with our traditional services. So sort of like what we do on every year at Easter, we'll have traditional services going on in the morning, we'll have contemporary services going on in the morning. But in order to make all of that work, you've got to do some renovation in this building. The first part that we've got to do in terms of renovation is that we've got to do some aesthetic renovation in the worship center. We have been in that building now since 2004, and we just need to change out the carpet. We need to put some fresh paint in there. We need to make some aesthetic changes to the worship center. We have used that building, and there's a story that I want to tell you about something that happened a month ago that really kind of defines why it is we need to do this. About a month ago, we had a woman in our church who had been battling cancer for several years, and she passed away. And her family came to us and asked if they could have the memorial service for her during the weekend. She worked at one of our local schools, and it just made it a lot easier for school district personnel to be able to come on the weekend as opposed to coming during a weekday. Well, certainly we wanted to accommodate that. The only problem is that the weekend that they needed to have her memorial service was also the weekend that we were doing the rummage sale. Now, we have an annual rummage sale. It raises money for missions. And so to make it all work in a 24-hour period in this room, we had a rummage sale, we had 5 regular worship services, and then we had a 300-person memorial service on Sunday afternoon, all in about a 24-hour period. It's a rummage sale tent, it's a memorial service venue. And it just kind of re-emphasized for us and reminded us of how important this is, because our church is getting large enough now that when those things go on, we need to be able to have the access to do what we need to do and not tax one facility with all of that, because we had to set it up, we had to take it down, we had to reset it, we had to do all of those different kinds of things. So we've got to renovate this space as well as build this space, and then we've got access to do and have more flexibility in terms of our things that we do together. The other thing, though, besides aesthetic renovation in this building, is that we need to freshen that building up in terms of technology. If we're going to do really good contemporary worship in this building, what we need to be able to do is to do some light and some sound and some media renovation. What I think it's going to look like at this point is that the first thing you're going to see is we're going to take the cross off the back wall and move it up to the center above where the main screen is now. We'll go away from one screen and we'll go to two large HD screens, which will be on either side of the cross. Then what will happen is that because it's now a site for contemporary worship, we'll move the band up onto the stage. So Fred, you'll have a different place that you'll get to be. You'll actually be up on the stage area. The band will be in the center. And what we'll then do is start to put some dynamic theatrical lighting in there, in which we can do a lot of different kinds of things and have a lot of different looks in terms of what we want for in there. So if you can imagine a very different look in terms of two very modern HD screens, some theatrical lighting, and some different ways of being able to have the band in the place, we think it's going to be a great space for contemporary worship. And that's our design. Our design is not to have a new building and an old building. If we do that, we will have failed. Our desire is to have a great space for traditional formal worship and a great space for contemporary worship. This building has to have a fresh look so that when you walk in there, you say, that looks new, and the contemporary space looks new as well. This we expect to start late this year. So late in 2011, I'll give you an actual kind of time frame in a minute, but our belief is that we start this sometime in the last quarter of 2011. It's about a 10 or 11 month project. We would like to occupy the new building by the fall of 2012. This plan of having simultaneous worship allows us to spread the schedule out again. And so instead of having the schedule backed up like it is now, we'll be able to have a little more time for the worship, for the ushers to do some preparation and cleanup. There'll be time for fellowship. But the other thing it will allow for, if we have as much as 20 to 25 minutes between services, the parking will be better just because some of the parking will clear. What I know right now is, and it's one of those things I feel terrible about, is we have that moment where we come to the first two services. And we finish the first or the second service, and I say, we've had such a good time this morning. It's been so wonderful for you to be here. Now, would you get out of here so I can get the next group in? And, yeah, right. It's just as great. And that doesn't feel good to me. It doesn't feel good to you. And so part of what we hope is that by doing this, it spreads the schedule out. If it spreads the schedule out, then we're going to be able to clear the parking lots a little better as well. Even with people that are staying for Sunday school in a second hour, you're going to have some that are going to come and go and create a better sense of that. So I think the parking will be adequate. I think the key to the parking is getting it spread out in different locations so that it's not all clumped up in one place together.